Brilliance Audio.
Dangerous Ground by Rachel Grant. Performed by Eva Kaminsky, A.T. Chandler, and Michelle Yachmanev.
Dean had done some risky and dangerous things in his 10 years as a wildlife photographer, but nothing that could send him to federal prison. But then, this wasn't an assignment from National Geographic. He wasn't going to remote frigid Alaska to photograph polar bears under the aurora borealis, and while he would certainly be expected to take photos of birds, his role on this expedition wasn't that of a photographer at all. He wasn't even going as himself. He'd cleared the first major hurdle, and now approached the group of scientists and engineers on the tarmac waiting to board the plane. He was just minutes from takeoff, which was the point of no return. Federal prison might await him at the end of this flight or expedition, but he'd worry about that after he found his brother. 2 women and 3 men stood in a cluster watching uniformed Marines load supplies into the back of the cargo plane. Dean joined the group and was about to introduce himself when the engines of a small fighter jet on the runway fired up. He ripped open the pack of disposable earplugs he'd been handed before being permitted onto the restricted tarmac and quickly inserted them. Everyone waiting for the flight watched the fighter jet prepare to take off, so Dean used the opportunity to check out the 5 people also heading to Chicksook Island. It was easy to guess which of the 2 women was the archaeologist. Dylan had said she was tall and beautiful. Both women were attractive, but the one with lighter brown hair had a good 6 inches on the other. Until yesterday, when Pollux Engineering had given him the list of scientists and engineers slated for this trip, he'd known only her first name, making reaching out to her impossible. Now, just standing feet from her at long last, he couldn't tell her his real name if he wanted to avoid prison. Avoiding prison might not be his top priority, but it was high on the list. Fiona Carver's shoulder-length honey-brown hair had gold and red highlights that he could believe were natural. While human subjects were not his specialty, he'd donated his skills over the years to photograph models and actresses on location with various animals to raise money for habitat preservation and protection. He'd since become friends with many in the film and fashion industries, and he knew enough about both to recognize that Fiona had either been blessed by the hair gods or she had a really excellent stylist. There wasn't a speck of makeup on her lightly freckled, pale cream skin. But then this military flight to a remote island in the Aleutian chain for government-contracted field work wasn't a makeup-wearing sort of trip for most people. The fighter jet hurtled down the runway just as the military ground crew signaled for Dean and the other civilians to board the waiting aircraft. This was it. Stepping onto the plane meant no turning back. If he was caught, he could kiss his perfect life and career goodbye. So be it. He'd risk anything for his brother. Dylan would do nothing less for him. Finding Dylan was Dean's #1 priority.